Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Anno 1800. Now, we have a sad update. The fact is, the current playthrough turned into a bit of a disaster. We were locked in a constant state of war with Princess King, and a lot of that was due to the fact that I did not expand quick enough in terms of getting up an increased population. And what this did was it left me with too few islands. I was outran by my competitors who expanded far too quickly. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through the things that I've done to rectify that in a new playthrough, and we're going to try and in about half an hour get our campaign back up to where we were on a different footing. So you're going to see a lot in this video where I just do some major things in terms of getting all of my stuff back up and running. I'm going to talk through a lot of the changes that I've made to how I play the game, and we're going to, change a few things, make things better, and be in with a better chance of surviving and just, getting everything right, basically, where we've done wrong. Now, I learned a lot in my first game, my first playthrough, but we've got things that we need to improve on. Mainly, not getting to the engineer class too quickly, because that was pretty much what killed us off, really. We made some big mistakes in terms of getting our expansion up and running, and that left us in a bit of a situation in the long run, really. It didn't end well for us. We were in that constant state of war, and we weren't making enough money. We weren't getting enough resources out there to make everything sustainable. So that's what we're going to change in future. And I'm going to talk you through how I do it, what my aims are, what my goals are, and then we are going to hopefully get things back up and running. I don't know how much of the DLC we're going to explore and things like that. We might actually leave that for our episodes, but today is about restoring and getting everything back. The one thing it does mean is that there's probably going to be a completely different map seed, and we're going to have to make a few changes. So we're going to dive in. I'm going to talk a little bit about things once we get everything ready and set up. So, see you there. My first major step was really racing through the tutorial and the opening of things, so going through that quest line where we eventually pay off the funeral of our father and get our shipping rights. So the shipping rights are really important because that then allows us to settle new islands. And rather than continuing to just simply expand one island, my aim was to get some ships built really quickly, get some iron produced, get some wood produced, so that we can go off and settle a load of islands in the old world that we can then start getting the basic sort of stuff involved in. Now, what I ended up doing in an earlier episode of the main series that you didn't get to see because of how quickly everything kind of unfolded, I started working on the commuter piers, which are really expensive if you don't have enough income coming in. And the idea that I had originally was to have all of my citizens on one island, constantly boosting the population of that island, and using the commuter piers, which allow you to share your population with other islands. The idea was that the commuter piers would be installed on every other island so that I could just send my workers out to keep producing stuff on those islands without them needing to have any requirements fulfilled for having residents on those islands, because there'd be no residents there. Unfortunately, this plan didn't work because my economy was awful in the last game, and that's really more of a mid to late game sort of step for you when you get like investor classes and stuff involved in the game a bit later on. I was nowhere near that, and like I said, getting into engineers early doors was probably the worst idea that I could have had. The other problem was that I wasn't making use of the game's items, so my ships weren't going anywhere quickly, and my trade routes across Old and New World were not well established. Also, you can charter routes in this game, which actually saves you a lot of time and a lot of money. The upkeep for those charter routes is pretty small, so if you're making a bit of money, that's a great little resource for you to move one good from one island to another so that the stocks keep going up and your citizens remain happy. So all of that out of the way, I established my first island and then raced through that tutorial so that I could get a decent footing in the game and actually start making some goods. We're not going to go beyond the artisan class yet, because once I get to that stage, I would like to make sure that all of my artisan population is happy, as well as making use of some of those game items that we can equip in the town hall and in our trade unions, as well as making better use of the influence points that I have. The other issue was a lack of population.
because I'd like locked down into one island, I was running out of space because I still needed to produce goods on that island, and that didn't go to plan either. So the lack of population meant I wasn't hitting those influence goals to get more influence. Then getting into the propaganda thing and using propaganda every time a newspaper came out was an absolute disaster, because eventually your citizens get a negative effect from too much propaganda, as well as the fact that Princess King doesn't like it. That's why she declared war on me, so it became a massive issue. What I'm looking to do is keep the peace with everybody in the game for now, because that's going to allow me to build a strong economy, a strong military, and as well outpace my competitors by settling as many islands as possible in the old world, then the new world, and then eventually when we unlock those other regions, Cape Trelawny and Enbesa. Although being DLCs, I don't know how much of that story we're going to cover. Like I've already said, I might have to do a little bit of it, which you won't then see, but I will try and keep you up to date in further episodes. So at this point in the game, in our last playthrough, we were quite far behind already, but now we've established our second island and we're about to establish our third one, already before blowing up the route to get access to the iron on this island. And we did that by trading wood and various other things like work clothes to one of the islands. I think it's the island run by the Queen, whose name, the guy who runs it, his name escapes me. Anyway, we traded some things with him in exchange for steel bars, and the steel bars are what you need to establish another island. So we already had steel bars, we had wood, and we were able to establish a second island. As you can see, there's quite a large chunk of that mini-map already unlocked, and that's because I sent my my flagship out to explore. So that was able to unlock a few more islands for us, including one that we've settled but not yet built on. So there's a trade post there, and here we are establishing our next island. And this is very much going to be the status quo. I'm going to continue exploring the map. I'm going to continue unlocking more islands, and then we are going to continue trading. But now that we have access to iron, we can actually start making our own steel beams, which means we're going to really quickly expand out. We can use our flagship, but we also now have the ability to create ships, so that's going to be really useful for us as well. And obviously, we do have to sell those ships to Archibald Blake. That's the guy's name, I now remember. We have to sell those ships to him as part of that main quest, and once that's done, we will have kind of like free reign to continue pushing forward and then gain access to the new world. Now, there is one competitor we have to watch out for. Because we're playing on easy, many of our competitors will ask for permission before settling a new island, and that generally happens all of the time. So Princess King, Willy Wibblesock, and even sometimes Beryl O'Mara will ask us for permission before settling an island. Unfortunately, Beryl has a habit of just doing whatever the hell she wants, which means some of the islands she will already have put her grubby mitts all over, and that includes in the new world. There are certain things and certain milestones that you will hit in this game that kind of trigger an automatic expansion of your competitors, and Beryl is one of those who will just go ahead. So it could be once you've unlocked the ability to produce steel, once you've got the ability to produce certain ships and things like that, or when you hit a certain population cap, she will just expand. That's why we need to get to the new world really quick, so that's why a lot of this is kind of really jumping ahead very, very fast. But once we get all of that infrastructure in place and we grab some of the major islands before Beryl gets to them, as well as keeping her happy, that's why we're going to do some quests and make sure that they're happy, because if we expand too quickly without keeping them happy, the diplomatic relations between our competitors will decrease quite rapidly. Princess King doesn't seem to mind us expanding, even if it's quicker than her. Willy gets a little bit upset by it, but Beryl is incredibly threatened by you expanding quicker than her, as well as having like a better economy than she has. And of course, unlocking new islands means your economy is going to be better. So we need to keep those people happy. Otherwise, this initial start will have major issues very, very quickly. This time I'm able to settle in the new world with a much better population and a better income. I've managed to actually keep my population at a decent level. So we have workers, we have farmers, and we have a couple of artisans, but we're not over expanding here. Having 5 or 6 islands in the old world has really helped me solidify. And now that I've prepared well enough coming into the new world, I've actually got 2 ships ready to go loaded with cargo so that we can explore those islands as quickly as possible and get a load of new settlements put in, and that is going to be the best way for us to go.
You've already seen what I've done with my islands. They all have setups. They're all able to sustain workers and farmers, and artisans is going to be the next step of that, which we'll go through in a little bit more detail in a later episode, but I'm much happier with how things are looking now. And as you can see, these are the two ships that I've got ready to go. We have Samson the Clipper, which is loaded with timber and steel beams and bricks, as well as the Starfish, which is loaded with steel beams and timber as well. We're going to send them off to the New World, to La Isla, and while that's happening, I'm going to explore as much of the New World as possible using my flagship, which is already there, which is great. So just hopping around our islands here. Goldfurt is a bit of a staging post. I plan to kind of start moving some stuff down here so that I have a better passage to the New World. We've also got a few new places here. So we got limestone, we got coal, we got iron, and more limestone here. There's not a great deal of stuff going on here. But over here we've got Mousmer, which is already pretty stable here. And we have beer being produced quite well there, and a lot of schnapps as well. Over in our main island in Ditchwater, which I have not yet renamed, and I'm not going to rename it. We're going to leave it as Ditchwater. We're pretty topped out on work clothes and timber and stuff, which is great, because what we can actually do is we can start sending some of those work clothes down to our staging post here in Goldfurt. And once they're stocked up with work clothes, they'll actually be able to continue expanding and sending that out directly to the New World, where they've got passage really close to the edge of the map, which is down here. So that's going to be really good for us, and that is going to be mainly like a tradey type island. So we're probably going to have a look at what we can actually put in terms of storage and stuff down here. I would have liked to have been able to build, you know, a proper like mooring and stuff to build ships here, but I think it's just going to be a storage depot really. Then over in La Marine, looking really good here. We do have, I don't know why I've built the variety theatre. We don't actually need them for here unless we plan to go into artisans, but they do want beer down here, and they can actually produce it on the island, but there's not a lot of space to do that unless we move a bit further afield. So getting some sort of trading post for beer will be very useful over here. We've built them all out with some more storage depots as well, and then over in Western it's exactly the same. They need beer, they can produce it there, but again, space is at a bit of a premium. We can expand out that way and make some beer there, which is great. Then over in Magwitch, now Magwitch has a bit of a problem. They can't produce bread here, so we are going to need to make sure that we have that fulfilled, which we do in the form of a trade route, well, a charter route going from Western over there. It's just a bit cheaper, and because that's quite close to the pirate island, which I haven't yet, if we have a look at our diplomacy now, we're looking much healthier, but we haven't yet got any sort of peace with Anne Harlow, and I would like to get peace with Anne Harlow as quickly as possible, because I'd like to trade some items with her and get some of the secret stuff, and also set up a nice trade route with her. Coming back over to Tarik, which is looking really good. This was the second island I settled on, and they're pretty happy there. They're able to make beer and stuff, and that's where a lot of my beer production is happening. Where actually it's not happening there. I've got beer being traded in there from this island down here in Mousmer. Mousmer is where I produce all of my beer at this moment in time. That will probably change, and we'll get some more beer being produced on another island, probably over here in Western. In fact, I'm going to put that in place now because it looks like I'm able to do that. So we get our little beer here, and just copy all of that, move over to Western, and we'll put the beer production out the back here where this grain farm is, I guess. Is there any other space I can place it? No, doesn't look like it, unless we go at the back here behind these farms and just put it on a different angle. It fits perfectly there, so that goes down, and I'm off to do some New World stuff. Obviously we can't build that for some reason because the brewery needs another 4 units of steel, which I don't yet have, but I have a ship there waiting. We're going to trade these in. I've been buying a few items as well. We're going to grab some steel beams, then we're going to head over to Western. We're going to drop those off. We have a requirement for some more farmers here, and I can actually just copy and paste this street, and we'll put in some going all the way up, dropping that down and placing it there. Right, I'm off to explore the New World. See you guys in a bit. So I've spent quite a bit of time in the New World, and as you can see, our population is looking really good, as is our income. So La Isla and stuff is already done. We've done that kind of intro quest, and we are now on to the expedition
the contract, which is something that we didn't get around to doing in our last playthrough. So we've kind of brought that story up to speed. We haven't done any of the other tutorial stuff. I'll probably talk about that a bit later on in terms of setting up our docklands, and all of that sort of stuff has not yet happened. So we're quite far off in that respect, but having an actual well-established economy and little threat from our competitors is really, really useful and is allowing me to do a lot of the groundwork. So most of my islands have a very similar kind of layout. We have residential areas, we have all of the basic amenities that are needed by those obreros, the jornaleros, to then upgrade to obreros, but we have nothing further than that. Over in the old world, excuse the glitchiness of my map loading in there, but everything is looking pretty good. We're starting to send ships out and we're starting to tackle the other 2 expeditions, one of them which will unlock Enbesa and the other one will unlock Cape Trelawny. And we're going to talk about those in a little bit more depth because those were things that I ignored in my last playthrough and I do not want to ignore them again for the sake of progressing in other regions. We're going to get in there, we're going to get settled, and then we are going to leave our video there, and next episode things will start in earnest where everything will be looking good. You can see from the diplomacy that we don't have much threat from any of the pirates or our competitors at the moment. We've actually got trade rights secured with 3 of our competitors, and I'm looking to get something with the pirates as well. Don't know how successful that's going to be, but it will at least give us a little bit more of a jump start, helping us move forward. So next time I speak to you, we will have discovered new regions, and I'll be rounding off this video where hopefully we'll be back up to speed and this playthrough can resume. And so we discover another new region. This time we unlock Enbesa. Now this is something that we didn't actually get to in the original kind of playthrough that you've been following along in the series. I did actually record an episode where we settled Enbesa, but due to the war and all of the other stuff, it became really difficult to make ground here. But I now have got stuff underway here, and in our next episode we will probably come back to this space and start exploring a few things. But I have other things to do. Cape Trelawny is underway as well. We're starting to get that unlocked. The expedition is still going to get to there. And once we've done that, we will get that set up very much in the same vein as we've done our old world sort of stuff. Meanwhile, I'm still working on the new world, getting some settlements set up there. We've done quite well so far, but we've got a lot more to do here before we continue these stories as we unlock all of these DLC areas apart from the Arctic. And once we get them settled, things are going to start looking a bit better. We can get this series back on track. But I do hope you are enjoying this one so far. We're going to jump ahead a little bit more. But Emperor Katema is now known to us, and we've done the expedition to unlock this new region. And as quickly as we unlock Enbesa, we make it to Cape Trelawny, finding our runaway queen and unlocking another new area. Now, the Queen here is explaining that the nation has lost its pride, but that pride can be restored. A long time ago, they were victors here at Trelawny, but all of the spoils remain in the lap of Poseidon, which unlocks a treasure hunting mechanic. And we're looking for a scepter, the Scepter of Capon, which grants its bearers indisputable authority, but it has sunk to the depths somewhere, and we are hoping to help the Queen find it. So we will need to make things like diving bells and stuff. We're a long way away from that, but it's important that we unlock these regions and settle on islands as quickly as possible, whilst maintaining peace with our competitors, because that's going to allow us to have a strong economy, and we can gradually settle into these islands. This is something that I neglected last time, and that lack of expansion led to me being really far behind when we compare ourselves to our opponents. And our opponents expand quickly, especially Beryl O'Mara. What then happened in my last series, the series that you've been watching so far, was we ran out of islands, basically, which meant war or a buyout was inevitable. And because I hadn't been looking after my economy and making strides forward in that, I ended up not being able to buy any islands out, and things became really, really unfortunate. So what we need to do now is we're going to sail to the HMS Lap of Victory, where our Queen is going to give us enough resources to settle an island. And what I can do, the same thing I've already done with Enbesa, is go back to the old world where I have a ship right on the edge of the map, and we can now send that to another region. We can send it to Cape Trelawny, off they go, and they will reach that region very quickly. Over in the New World, we have settled yet another island and started building there. You can see here we have some buildings that aren't quite done yet, and we'll be upgrading and building them as soon as possible. We don't have a warehouse ready for construction there, which is a little bit unfortunate because I do need to get that up and running, so we're going to have to demolish some houses here just to give us enough wood to get things going so we can build that warehouse there, and then we will instruct residents to be built again in that space. Once we start getting wood in, that will sort itself out quite nicely. Then we have Inazuko, which is expanding quite nicely here, and then over here is another island that I'm going to settle in Guayati, and we're going to go back over here again, and this is what I'm doing for all of my islands. We're basically just copying this swathe of buildings here. We're going to our new island, we're placing these down, and then we can start growing into our new space. And again, do you know what? I'm just going to go around. I'm going to show you this process with everything that I'm doing it with. So we want to go to here. There we go. Houses going in there. And then we'll do the same down here, where we have a very interesting island here of El Bifero. And I think my building, my dock, where is it? There it is. So we can put more down here by the dock side, which is actually really nice. Going to make these quaint little port towns. I think that fits in quite nicely there. Down here where we overlook the pirates' residence, the pirates' island, we'll go back. We'll just move things around a little bit here. The market is right on the seafront there. Really nice. That goes in. Going over to this one where we've already put one in. So we've got one, we've got two, we've got three all ready for settling. We've got a fourth there ready for settling. We've already done it here. We've done it there, we've done it there. We've got one more island, this tiny little one here, where obviously we're not going to be able to fit in. This is one that I settled actually because it's got 4 lots of gold on, as well as clay, which isn't a great deal, but we can leave this for now. That's just going to be a little residual island that I'm going to be able to grow into. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this island here, where things are looking really nice. I've got a quest there that I'll do later. We're going to copy this building here, this series of buildings, which is our wood production. We're going to go back over to these islands here. Now, I haven't set it up there, which is good to know because I can now put one in up here at the back where we're going to get quite a bit of area covered. Let's go actually here because I don't think there's any resources here. So we'll put this up here where once we get to 100% efficiency on both of those buildings, that goes in, and I can link that up later on. Then over here, we should have a bit of space somewhere in this island to put this in as well. 98, 100%. There we go. That goes in. Then we'll head down here, doing exactly the same as with the last one. This can go out here. That's probably enough space. Good. Don't think that quite worked. That's going to be slightly inefficient, but it gives us a start so we can get wood production going. I'm going to go right here towards the back of this area. There we go. And that's all of them in. I'm producing wood already on these islands. That one's already set up, I think. Well, obviously it is because I can see that I've got maximum wood planks there. Over here, they should be starting now as well. And then over here, that's set up. Good. Down to here. We are definitely set up there at the back. Good, excellent. Right, so then what I'm going to do is I have a clipper somewhere on my flagship, which has just arrived back at Inazuko. We are going to load up 50 units of wood. We are then going to head out to another island, outlying island here, and then we will drop 10 lots of wood off so we can get this set up. We'll drop a bit more off because we're going to need to be able to actually build the warehouse and then build some housing so that we can get people producing the wood, and we're going to do the same on all of our new islands, and that's great. Then we can turn our attention to Cape Trelawny, where we are going to be putting in some interesting new buildings that look pretty much the same as all of the other stuff that we've done so far in terms of setting up our town, because that's going to be very much it. That's an old world town, and we can get that set up quite nicely in a very short space of time. So we're linking up all of our roads, and then we'll jump ahead until we have something resembling towns on most of our islands, because now the settlement is starting to look good. You can see our population has now reached 21,000, which is great. They do want me to upgrade an Abrera residence over there in somewhere else. Where is it? I think this is actually a quest for, yes, my relationship with barrelers. build the requested buildings on any of my islands. So that's something that I can do another time. Everything is linked up here, and our flagship should be on its way now. Yes, it is. And I also, over here in La Isla, where I got quite a bit of wood ready and stocked, I'm going to load that up into this frigate. And then that frigate is going to head off down to some of our other islands to drop 50 units of wood off in those locations so that they can get set up and started. We're then going to need to set up some sort of brick trade and things like that to get all of that sort of stuff being produced. Over here on this island, I do have clay, so I am able to get some brick production going here, which I'm going to set up now. Again, with the clay pit, you can have 2 brickworks and then a small warehouse right next to it. Then we can do a little lap around it with some roads, linking it all up, and then we will have a road coming off here, matching it all up there. Good. Right, we've got 4 lots of wood, and once they get enough in, we can get that built, and we can start upgrading the residences here. They do want fried plantains, so we're going to do that sort of stuff as well. And I think I'll jump ahead. We'll start exploring Cape Trelawny and getting stuff done there. So I'll see you guys in a very short while. To further our progress in Enbesa, we had to do a load of riddles and some little side quests. Now, I didn't record this footage. I thought, you know, we're not going to be doing much here. But it turns out there's a lot more that I'm doing. Anyway, Her Majesty the Queen is coming over here or something. There's something going on. But we really need to get to a point where we're able to expand here so that our competitors don't overrun the island and make our lives difficult. And being a DLC, it wasn't something that I really wanted to get into, but of course Sir Archibald Blake is here now, and he's discovered that I'm here as well. Anyway, but we are going to carry on. I'm making some strides forward, and this was kind of not meant to be as extensive as it is, but it certainly is. So next time we dive into things, we will be going through a little bit of stuff that needs to be done in Enbesa, but we do have some people here, and now there is another settlement set up somewhere where I didn't really want it to be, but here we go. We're going to let them settle. As long as it's not on our land, we'll refrain for the time being and observe. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit more, and hopefully we'll get into a stage where we can end this episode and you will be semi-caught up, and I certainly will be caught up. Okay, so we now have a settlement here in Enbesa. This is Tabarime. I've done a few of the quests to get things set up, but what it seems like is there's 3 branching storylines here that you kind of need to pay attention to. So we are actually going to continue that as the playthrough progresses. But basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to unify a lot of the tribes in this area. So over here we've got Wahadesha, and then over here we've got Kidusi and Itoni, which has this really cool little library and an excavation site that we've been working on as we discover new things. We then have down here Angareb, which is the pirate faction of this area. But also, of course, Emperor Katema is the one that we kind of is the king of all of the tribes, basically. Over here, Little Clarence is owned by Sir Archibald Blake. We don't really have access to any sort of trade with him yet, but it may well be that there's certain things that we can do here. In the quest book, you can see we've got to host a banquet, basically, by arranging some tapestries and dried meat, and then these quests are all to do with those branching storylines that I've just mentioned. Now, there's a few ways you can go about this. I'm not going to go into detail yet because I don't know too much about them myself. So let's go to our world map. Over here in Cape Trelawny, we have settled 5 islands altogether, including Crown Falls. We haven't actually started building anything on these islands yet, but I figured, like, you know, solidifying them and actually getting some land stolen here from our competitors will be a good thing. As you can see, Willy Wibblesock hasn't settled any islands here. We have lovely Beryl Amara, who has 2 islands, and then of course Princess King has 1 very small island here that she's doing stuff on. But of course, Cape Trelawny is just an expansion of the old world, so all of the stuff there is old, like, classic buildings that we already have access to. Over here we have our usual settlements in the old world, which haven't really changed much from my last update. They are all kind of established, and they have, you know, full goods on our workers. Apart from there, Schnapps has taken a little bit of a hit, and the farmers are relatively happy as well. We do have a schnapps trade that is up and running. Most of our settlements are okay at this moment in time because they are able to produce schnapps on their islands. Over here, I think we can produce schnapps. We're just not actually making any, so there must be some sort of production hold up there. Going over to the new world, where most of our next kind of playthroughs and stuff are going to take place. We have settled all of our islands and they all have enough production there to keep our journal era residences very happy in the configurations that I set up. So this has kind of been a really nice recovery. For some reason though, the diplomacy, John LaFortune was pretty happy with us for a while, and I think I may have accidentally declared war on him while I was sorting through some stuff. We have an alliance here with Princess King. Willie is not particularly happy with us, but he is not much of a threat at all. If we have a look at stuff, our military is pretty even peg and my economy is far better than his. Princess King has a slightly better military than us, but her economy is falling way behind, and Beryl somehow has a good economy and her military is insane, but most of that is literally her defensive structures. Anne Harlow is not a threat at all and should leave us alone in the old world and stuff, so that's not too much of an issue. Jean LaFortune, on the other hand, is a little bit more difficult, so it might well be that I create some warships to go and blockade his area down here, just so that we can keep him away from us. We'll just kind of take down as many of his ships as possible as they come out. You can see he's got a few sailing around here, some frigates and stuff, but it's not too much of a problem. Largely our settlements are set up and ready to go. So that brings this episode to an end, where I'm really happy with how things have gone. I hope the bits of explanation and stuff that I've done have been enough to kind of satisfy you for a week. Next week, when we come back, we will have a much better direction with some places that we need to do, starting here in the new world, where we actually just need to upgrade an Enbesa residence and then start on some of these tutorials. You can see the aluminium and stuff is what we're going to need to do here. And then over in the old world, I have been instructed to build my docklands, which of course I haven't done yet. Our finances, we're making quite a bit of money here, about 9,000 per minute, I think that is. Global population is at 25,000, so we can start pushing that in various different areas, but I don't want to do that yet. Our main objective is going to be to set up a rum trade, because on our main island of Ditchwater here, you will notice that I do have some artisans, but they have been quite luckily equipped with an actor in here. Now, the actor, as long as they have access to a variety theatre, the needs for rum and canned food are completely fulfilled. So here, the few artisans that I have got in residence, they already have their needs for rum and canned food filled up massively. So that's really good. I think also we have sewing machines or something, unless we are actually creating them somewhere and I've just forgotten. Yes, we're making sewing machines, so that's fine. So the sewing machine's not an issue, the canned food not an issue, but if I do want more artisans in this city, we are of course going to need to kind of change the area of effect a little bit here. I suppose what we could do is actually upgrade these buildings here, because they are just in range of that town hall. So it's these 5 down here. We can upgrade these to the artisan level, which will give us a little bit more profit, and also allow us to fulfill the needs that some of these lot have. I could also build some more farmers' residences down here, which we could then upgrade, so I'm going to do that as well. Get that in, and we'll upgrade them as soon as they are able to be upgraded. We'll do a little road that goes along here, then we can kind of make some decorative stuff around the town hall, which I think would be pretty nice. And then I've got a little bit more space around this side, so why not? Let's just fill this in with some more housing as well, that we can then upgrade even further, and that's going to be really good. So it's just about making sure that they're in range of what they need, and that's that done. Right, so I will see you for our next episode of Anno 1800, where everything is back on track and we can start making some real progress in the story. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.